Over the years, we've seen a lot of fighters with extraordinary talents who apply their skills to render another hapless man unconscious. This doesn't require any athletic build, which will make us show you the 10 best moments of fat pot-bellied fighters who surprise their opponent and the audience with massive fighting skills despite their pot belly. Stick around, it's going to be an exhilarating trip around the octagon. Having retired from MMA, people hardly remember Mike Russo or his career, but he was a man who came to the UFC with an 11-1 record. His only loss before joining the UFC was against Sergey Kharitonov. At the young age of 24, he made his UFC debut by defeating Justin McCulley and later faced Todd Duffy in the octagon. Duffy, a guy who could double as a bodybuilder and an MMA fighter, strutted into the octagon with moves that showcase his impeccable moves, crazy punching power, and unblemished track record. But then Russo waltzed into the ring and reminded us never to underestimate the power of pure grit. Just 40 seconds into the brawl, Russo had a sudden meeting with the canvas. He pulled himself together and endured a 10-minute symphony of powerful strikes from Duffy. Then, in a twist that shocked not only Duffy but also the fans in the arena, Russo unleashed a powerful, straight right-hand punch that landed squarely on target. The knockout punch Russo delivered instantly turned Duffy's unbeaten prospect status into a beat-up prospect status, making Russo the real hero of the night. Fighters from other promotions made it to this list as well. Aside from his conspicuous appearance, Chris Barnett always thrills the audience with unexpected stunts. After many years of competing in regional promotions in the USA, he became a big hit in Asia and built up quite an impressive collection of wins. After outpointing Walt Harris in 2011, he missed 3 years, and just when people had already started to forget the Huggy Bear, he came back with a 6-knockout streak. The most iconic ones were his finishes against Travis Wolff and John Hill. Willis, a former American football player hailing from a sport that demanded added body mass, leveraged this attribute when he ventured into MMA. When he arrived in the UFC, Willis was not a household name and carried a somewhat portly appearance with a 4-1 record. However, it was during his clash with Alan Crowder at UFC 218 that the story took a remarkable turn. Midway through the first round, he strategically pinned Crowder against the fence and delivered a single devastating blow that silenced his opponent. On getting to the Ultimate promotion, Mark suffered 6 losses in a row. The situation became so dire that Dana White offered him $450,000 just to terminate his contract. But Mark decided to press on.
It's all over!
When it got to this point, the tide turned. Mark secured 4 straight wins with some spectacular knockouts. One of these knockouts particularly stood out. For years, Chick Congo had remained undefeated, showcasing his physical dominance during weigh-ins.
And Congo. And here we go!
However, Hunt demonstrated the true essence of power with a knockout that left the crowd believing he still possessed the ability to compete at the highest level.
Free with his punches. Big 260. Oh, big right hand. Congo's in all sorts of trouble. And he's trying to finish it here. It's over. It's over. And it is all over. The Super Samoan.
Ex-wrestler Timothy Johnson looks ready for a major leap forward in 2015 after his victory over Shamil Abdulrahimov, marking his emergence as a promising newcomer and raising expectations. Ultimately, it was Johnson's mustache that left a lasting impression. Despite his favorable win-loss record, the UFC chose not to extend his contract, leading him to make a move to Bellator. However, his transition to Bellator didn't yield better results. In his first match, he suffered a knockout defeat in under 2 minutes. Johnson achieved the unexpected when he faced off against the unbeaten Tyrell Fortune. In the middle of the round, Johnson's dynamic combination led to a spectacular knockout, creating the most surprising upset of the year. Bob is one of the most popular fighters in Japan. His notable muscular physique, expressive facial features, and captivating showmanship endeared him to the crowds. Nonetheless, he experienced a knockout loss to Aurigeli, even though he had previously boasted about defeating the Chinese fighter. Ben Rothwell's unconventional appearance never hindered his ability to defeat opponents worldwide. He maintained an undefeated streak in the renowned IFL League. Subsequently, Rothwell secured a contract with the UFC, marking his entry into the premier fighting organization. Although his initial UFC journey began with a less favorable record of 2 wins and 3 losses, suffering defeats against Velasquez, Hunt, and Gonzaga, his fight with Brendan Schaub earned a huge reputation. At first, people made fun of his unusual fighting style, but that changed when he defeated Brendan Schaub with a knockout. He pulled this same stunt against Brandon Vera in the UFC. Rothwell received a 9-month suspension for using performance-enhancing drugs and had a bout with Alistair Overeem. The fight was intense, with Overeem launching attacks and using his signature knees. Rothwell, on the other hand, moved patiently, waiting for the right moment. It started with an uppercut that left Overeem unsteady. Less than a minute later, Rothwell finished what he had begun. The knockout extended Rothwell's winning streak, bringing him closer to a title shot.
Ben Rothwell has done it!
Poor Congo got to be mentioned twice on the losing side. After his defeat to Hunt, he bounced back and beat Sean Jordan to face another nightmare in person of Nelson. Back then, Dana White openly said Roy had a worse physical shape than anyone else in the UFC.
I don't know how that guy makes 205. He has enough trouble getting down to 250, I would be shocked. Or maybe he just shaves and he gets down to 205. I don't know, but I don't know how he's going to do it.
Roy remained in the mid-tier of the roster for years, until he experienced a breakthrough moment by knocking out both Dave Herman and Matt Mitrione.
With that kick. Oh, big country!
During his match against Congo, he achieved his 3rd consecutive knockout victory. The fight between the two athletic odds lasted just over 2 minutes when Nelson delivered his signature right-hand punch to Congo.
Big shot, just like that. It is all over. Wow!
Although the name Eric Esch might not ring as many bells as Butterbean. This old-school fatso character was quite the notorious figure back in the day. Butterbean dabbled in various combat sports, including boxing, kickboxing, pro wrestling, and MMA. His headline fight was against James Thompson. Thompson not only seemed tough, but also knew how to fight pretty well. However, his stern countenance and series of kicks didn't exactly strike fear into Butterbean's heart. Just 30 seconds into the match, Eric confidently put Thompson down.
On each shoulder, baby!
Daniel Cormier, now renowned as a popular UFC commentator and a successful analyst, was once a force to reckon with in MMA history. His journey, however, was marked by challenges. In 2008, he faced a daunting weight cut during the Olympics, which not only led to hospitalization but also dashed his dreams of competing in a pivotal wrestling event. A year later, he transitioned to the world of heavyweight martial arts, making his debut against Gary Frazier.
Put the hips in there with the legs in with an Olympic wrestler on you. It nearly break your spine a lot of times.
In the octagon, Cormier embarked on an impressive 8-fight winning streak, triumphing over opponents like Jeff Monson.
This is beautiful. Straight punches. This is what I was hoping to see.
Before the semifinals, Alistair Overeem had to bow out due to an injury, leaving Antonio Bigfoot Silva without an opponent, fresh off his victory over Fyodor Emelianenko. This run ultimately led him to the grand stage of the Strikeforce Heavyweight Grand Prix. In stepped Cormier, who was considered the underdog in this showdown. In a matter of minutes, Daniel made a statement. knocking down the Brazilian with a powerful overhand right. Following his Grand Prix victory, Cormier continued his unbeaten run as a heavyweight just a few months later. The trajectory of his career was on a meteoric rise. That was until the day he faced Stipe Miocic.
Until that, on the scorecards, but those body shots just add up. Once you start going to the body, you can't counter. That took everything away, and then that was the end.
His tactics improved, particularly when he made...
Is there anyone in MMA that could withstand that finishing strike from Willis? Let us know if you have someone.